Hey Hardin County, this is Michelle Labas, and I have missed these car talks that we used to have when I went to the commissioners meetings more regularly, and I appreciate you guys being patient with me after a year and a half of pretty much constant attendance. My family and I took a break this summer. We went on a lot of trips, a lot of camping trips, and when we got back we had homeschooling got started, and then holidays, and it just has kind of snowballed. And honestly, I just needed the break before campaign season came on, and we go into another exciting year of what's going on in the commissioner's office. So we're back. We're gonna give you an update on today. It is February 10th, and we had some interesting things on the agenda. Maintenance came in with Richard. And so previously I had talked to Joe, just a couple weeks ago, about the Oakleaf building and what they had plans for it. And he was very curt and said, not until they take possessions, they don't have any plans. You know, the title office is taking it, but other than that, no plans. Which I feel like you should have plans if you buy a building. But the boiler is not working. There are pipes that are frozen. They're getting bids to get that taken care of. They also are talking about replacing the VAV unit and then refoaming. So I went through the old notes, and they got a bid for like $103,000 is what they accepted to refoam that building. So definitely significant maintenance things going on, but at least it's a brick building. I think Richard said it was built in 1933. It's going to stand the test of time, pending what the roof looks like. Unlike some of the other buildings that are really kind of falling down and disheveled. They talked about so they have security signs, and they put up chain on the big doors to let people know not to go up to them. They are having some issues with housekeeping. So housekeeping needs to be there before the security officer's there, and how are they going to manage that, and is housekeeping locking up, and vice versa. So they're working through that to see what it is. It was interesting that I later talked with the housekeeping, and they've gotten rid of the second shift cleaning person who did like the bathrooms and kind of the deep cleaning, which was about a 6 hour a day, and they've shifted those jobs onto first shift cleaning. They did not get a raise. I did ask. So they're just doing additional work with their team. They got 3 people on their team, and then they're using community helpers to do the rest of the second shift cleaning, but they're doing it all during the day because of the lockdown of the building, which is they are quick and they are very good, but it is inconvenient for their schedule. And he's coming in early and taking a 2-hour lunch break and then staying till after 5 to close up the building, which, sounds fine. He's getting paid for his 8 hours, but at the same time, you're taking 10 hours out of his day. And so hopefully that's not a long-term plan. They're still working through the things, but the cleaning crew also goes and cleans all the other annex buildings that we have for the county. And so they are really everywhere, working very hard. So we thank them for that. Interesting. So it does sound like, they're fixing up the Oakleaf building. They are doing a ton of work over at the North Annex, which I don't know if you guys remember, last year, the North Annex, they wanted to put the the medical records from Hardin Hills in there, but they couldn't because it was all moldy, and the door thresholds were it sounded like maybe part of the floor was caving in. They had an expert guy come in and look at it, and he was very nice, but he pretty much said the walls on that North Annex are falling in. They didn't build it correctly. You need to go around and replace all of that and support the walls, the outside walls, and possibly cover up, do like a underneath drying out, because it's so moldy. So I'm really interested, they did not do that. They fixed the part that had to be fixed, and then now they're moving on to decorating. But it's like, is it really a strong building that we can do this in? Or are we going to have major problems down the road? So I'm really kind of nervous about that. OSU does come in and talk about what they want to do at the beginning. So here's the news, right? They're fixing it all up. And OSU is moving up to North Annex. And the title office is moving to Oakleaf. And I'm assuming maybe the BMV is moving to Oakleaf. I don't know. They're a different entity. But are we even going to have anybody in the 309 building? Or are we going to get rid of that? We don't know. So anyways, lots of things going on. They did get the lockers with the security system down at the basement entrance. And I'll tell you what, it is busy, right? When you have people coming in and out, and I said, hey, why don't we put up, you know, some comfy chairs, and people who like to just sit and chat, you can sit there by the stairway. You're going to see everybody coming and going, talking. It's, actually it's kind of nice for somebody who likes to talk to people. But anyways, so it's definitely a change. So OSU came in, they gave an update. It sounds, oh, I don't know if you guys went to this family fun event last year that they had out at the fairgrounds, but it was really fun. They had people from the community came and set up booths. They had master gardeners. Judge Santos was out there with a booth. They had snacks, they had crafts, they had raffles. And it just, they had it set up really nice. I think the Board of DD was out there, and they had animals. I mean, it was just a free family fun day. They're going to do it again. It is April 19th, 1 to 4, out of the children funds. And they had a lot of good feedback last year. My kids and I went, we really enjoyed it. So they talked about 4-H is getting up and running. The Nick came in and he talked about his programs. They do a ton of certification. I didn't even know. They do fertilizer and pesticide certifications, the master gardeners. If you're into that stuff, take a listen to the video. It is a ton of stuff that they're doing, especially in the winter. And then in the summer, he does a lot of checking insect traps and research type stuff. Then they got to talking about moving over to the North Annex building. And Jamie wants to do a commercial kitchen, right? So maybe splitting the cost with the commissioners to put in this commercial kitchen. There's a lot of communities that have several commercial kitchens that people can rent out. So if you're a home baker, you can go use a commercial kitchen. And they thought maybe you could do that out of the coterie. There may be some other kitchens around that you can rent out, but it helps. You can rent it outright and help the community, but also they do cooking classes, and then they have adequate space to prepare food for their different activities. And so, I mean, I love cooking. That is 90% of my life, but it would be a great asset. We'll see what they do. Joe said, you know, to make a list of what they would need and bring a proposal for putting in this commercial kitchen. You know, they are very generous. You know, you need something. These guys, they're like, yep, we can do it. So now a lot of this, I think, comes out of the Permanent Improvement Fund. We should go look at that and see how much was in there and how much is coming out of there. So kind of interesting, but about time we get some nice assets in our community. Let's see. Yeah, they talk about the signage for OSU out there. I think that's it. All right. Next up is Sheriff Everhart, Sheriff Holcomb, Brad Bailey, Judge Santos, all came in, and they were talking about security. They had a pretty long discussion about the courthouse security, whatever. But it was an executive session, so I can't tell you what it's about. I do know Housekeeping came in and expected to have an answer to his questions on if he's allowed to come in and split his time, you know, and have a 2-hour lunch break and that kind of thing. But Joe was pretty mum's the word, and we're just going to keep things as they are for right now, but no real decisions. So they talked, and then we came back in, And they were talking about the parking spots out front. It sounds like the Maldi County Jail wants to have a couple spots, and how are they going to make that work? Judge Santos said they didn't need their spots, and so parking spots all up in the air. The VIPs do use parking there. But then the big news is the OVF money. So there's opioid money that was granted through a lawsuit or a kind of like a settlement thing. I'm going to make another video on that because it is kind of scandalous what happens. But we are trying to get that money. Well, the money's actually here. It's coming in disbursements, and they're trying to see where they can use that to help serve our community. But check that other video. Let's see. Yeah, so they talk about the hub, and then of course the housekeeping came in and talked about his things, and then Darrel Bodine came in. I don't know if it's going to be in the official meeting because they did close the meeting, and he then was speaking to all the commissioners. So it'll be interesting to see if it's official or not official, but they did let him speak. He spoke about the Chase Stewart Fund for the veterans, which helps pay medical bills, hospital bills. And then he had a question about the veterans funding. So anyways, it was good to be back. I'm excited to get this information back out to you guys, and we'll see you later.